Hello, this is First Fire Non-Assault Move. Welcome back to the 43rd episode in the War in the East series. Let's get a situation report. It is the first week of January 1943, and this video will encompass two turns. Right now we are going to have a situation report of the events that occurred during turn 82, and then we'll execute the Soviets' turn and we'll conduct turn 83 as well. I thought I was going to do both turns at once and then put up a video, but some significant events have occurred during turn 82, and I definitely wanted to capture that. And we're looking at it right now. The 56th Panzer Corps, after routing two of the defending Soviet formations in these two hexes, the 56th has pushed forward to this point. We're low on fuel. This is about as far as we could get, and that's pretty much as far as I wanted to place them. We are now well north and behind this Soviet defensive line, which I believe they will soon be displaced and or encircled. And after aerial recon, this is all that's showing in front of Leningrad. So I didn't want um, folks to say, hey, how did you capture Leningrad? Because last video, you weren't even close to it. And in case things happen dramatically in turn 83, which will be the next turn, and we get up to Leningrad, this is how we are in position to maybe accomplish that. Tallinn, finally, we have arrayed enough forces, I believe, to at least next turn reduce further the heroic Soviet defenders in Tallinn, and if not next turn, the following week. The following weeks, we will finally take Tallinn. All right, so that was the most significant event, in my opinion, because this could be game changing if we take Leningrad. Literally, that'll be game ending with a automatic German decisive victory. Not in the cards, more than likely, in the next 2 months, which will all be blizzard. And as we know, the Soviets can quickly assemble uh, blocking forces and defensive forces enough to slow down the Germans at the very tip of an axis of advance, especially with Leningrad, when Leningrad and Moscow is concerned. But we will try to capitalize as best we can on this developing situation. Around Pskov, we kind of attacked here and there. I believe it was just one attack there. Again, I don't want to waste men and material on forces that we could easily encircle or at least displace, with really achieving no gains, just a few withdrawals. And now we're not going to attack through this sector. We'll displace them or surround them. So we don't care about the fort levels at this point building up. So same can be a defensive line, straight defensive line, similar to last turn. Belakai Luki. Well, the Soviets came abreast to us again, adjacent with weaker forces. So we took advantage of that and attacked all throughout this sector. And we've ruptured their lines. We definitely have greater combat power now, and we're threatening the Soviets again in a certain point in their front, which they will have to react to. And then we move further south from Velikai Luki. Smolensk, we have thickened our defense in front of Smolensk, and now we are starting to attack to the left and right flanks of this concentration to put some pressure on the Soviets so that maybe get a gradual encirclement or the threat of one to lessen the pressure on the Soviets' forces trying to reclaim Smolensk. Don't really have much concern here, but it's just something that we don't want to just dismiss outright. From Smolensk all the way down to Bryansk, really no change. Our defensive line, very well intact. One of the greater Soviet concentrations still remains here, and we continue to push forward from Bryansk where we can, but the Soviets have built up enough so that all progress at this point has stopped. Same can be said for Arel, Soviet concentrations there, with just the Germans having a defensive line, and then further down around Kursk, where now we were able to achieve the encirclement of that assailant that had been sticking out for a couple months. as the offensive operations had progressed to the north and south of this Sumy sector. Now they encircled. I don't have much fear of the Russians being able to relieve their comrades in this pocket. So another batch of Soviets will be forced to surrender, taken off the order of battle, and further weakening the Soviets for 1943. From Belgorod down to Kharkov, no change, defensive line established. And as we move further south of Kharkov, getting into the Dnipropetrovsk Zaporozhye area of operations, we continue to attack the Soviets here and there where we can, just to keep them on the back foot, not letting them build up their fort levels here, here, and here, just to prep the battlefield for possible future operations. And the big news here is a breakout now. Once the Panzer Corps that we had assembled to the east of Zaporozhye had rested for a week or two, we now have launched them and pierced the Soviets' line, and once again threatening an encirclement down to the Sea of Azov. And there's really nothing in front of these lead panzer divisions, but the Soviets, as we know, probably have some operational reserves around Stalino and Rostov, and they'll just put up blocking forces, which, as the weeks progress, become easier and easier to break through and scatter. So another potential encirclement and another group of Soviet formations to be potentially eliminated in the next week or two. Further to the south, down by the Crimea, we didn't have the fuel or the combat power to reach this hex. But it is in our zone of control, and these Soviets are not going to get away. Maybe one or two will be able to occupy this hex, and the Soviets have forces. They're starting to assemble to block us from entering the Crimea, but I believe this will be yet another pocket that we have achieved during the winter months, which is fabulous. And that is the summary situation report for turn 82. Wanted to make it relatively quick because we want to get 2 turns in on this video, done all our railroad repair engineers, and you know, the 36th Panzer Corps is getting a little complacent. I still don't know where to place them. That's all right. I don't feel they are necessary at any point in the front right now. I want to locate them possibly back up to Kharkov, but no, that they are an Army Group South Panzer Corps. Anyways, that's future planning. I do have ideas for them, designs for this Panzer Corps, but I haven't committed them yet. All right, I think we are ready for next turn. But before we hit next turn, one thing to point out: 3 more infantry divisions have arrived as reinforcements, and we also have inserted that infantry division, the Luftwaffe Field Division, into the line. I believe it's one of these 2 here. And the 3rd Luftwaffe Field Corps has arrived also, and will start to take command and control of a few of these infantry divisions, where our infantry corps are pretty maxed out as far as command and control and administrative stress on our headquarters. All right, so let's click next turn. Interesting. Let's just rest up here when we hit next turn and see what Soviets may do. Yes, it's very exciting to be that close with that with the combat power we have assembled for the Army of the North, posing a real threat to Leningrad. reassemble, regroup, and realign our forces for 1943 ahead of time before mud sets in, because our movement will be almost completely reduced to achieve that, at least non-real. So definitely will not pass up opportunities to further destroy Soviet formations, territorial gains. But we got to start thinking about getting in position to the best of our advantage once clear weather finally returns. It's a ways away, but these turns are going fairly quickly when we combine a couple turns in one video. And most of the front is quiet, and there's just a few focal points where we're really causing the most damage to the Soviets. Wow, wouldn't it be great to get a few Panzer Corps or motorized divisions into this? Scatter all those, be like a flock of geese running into a geese. They're bombing? I don't think I've seen that yet. I haven't lost any men to that. That is interesting. Have I missed that? Getting bombed? We're not losing a single... Okay, we lost 6 men there. 10 men here. Well, the Soviets do have a great quantity of aircraft. What is going on? Those have to be... That was a little schizophrenic there, that turn. Let's see what's happening down Army Group South area. Was that a wholesale withdrawal? Again, during their turn, not all counters are rendered on the map, so it can be misleading at times. Only 10,000. I shouldn't say only, but half of what we're accustomed to losing. D8 tanks, 118. Not many attacks from the Soviets. They just don't have the forces available to them to make attacks, and we're strong enough for them to, in most places, for them to not even bother attacking. We got bombed a lot, though. I hadn't seen that. Maybe I missed it? But that was a concerted effort to bomb us. Huh. I'm sure it's blizzards, not snow. Blizzard, blizzard, blizzard. Okay. We can function in blizzards as we have proven. Just take a quick look up here and then we'll get on to... Oh, dear Lord. You're kidding, right? Well, we all saw what it looked like last turn. And now there are... Oh, man. One. Well, they're going to have to defend the flank. What would be our Maybe it's not their flank. Well, it would be the southern flank of this concentration, because we could just encircle them again if they are not careful. But seriously, where did these come from? All railed in, obviously. All railed in. 6, 9, 10 formations out of the blue, railed in. These had to move because you can't rail adjacent. Well, they came from somewhere, and we did aerial recon, so evidently, which, very likely in a blizzard conditions, limited ability to fly air missions as well, and then probably very hard to see under these conditions and identify Soviet formations. So Leningrad, I guess taking Leningrad in the next couple of turns is not going to happen. Wow, well, these forces are not elsewhere where we can do further damage to the Soviets. Our big group north is now become a real concern for the Soviets, and that is good. All right. What happened? Encirclement here. They didn't even try to do anything. And further south. Ooh, wow. Break contact. Retreat, retreat, retreat. How many got away here? I guess they finally have learned their lesson. They've been remaining in place a little too long. I mean, in 1941, the Soviets retreated at breakneck speed, and it was hard to get encirclements. But in 1942, where they started out very strong, they held their positions longer than they should have, although some did get away over the course of our encirclements. But it looks like from Kharkov south, their fronts are retreating, and they broke contact finally. They finally resisted the almost overwhelming desire to attack Romanians and have retreated out of this soon-to-be encirclement. I'm sure they all didn't get away, because it is tough to move through blizzard conditions and also through swamps and out of zone of control. Interesting. We'll see how this plays out in the next turn. But let's not take up any more time on this turn. We definitely saw enough of situation report for turn 83. We'll pause here. I'll go conduct moves and attacks for turn 83, and we'll come back and get a situation report. A lot is happening. Incredible developments. I'm just chuckling inside. Oh boy, that was teleportation devices. Where did they come from? No, we expected they definitely had operational reserves in here. They have assembled for so long, beginning of the war, in and around Leningrad, so they definitely had something up their sleeve. Not going to make it too easy for the Germans. Nonetheless, great success to achieve this, what we have so far, especially with the encirclements. All right, so I'll be back shortly. All right, I am back. Moves and attacks complete. Let's get a situation report. Well, at the end of the Soviets' turn, we found out that they had railed in these 9 corps. Well, there's a mixture. Are they all corps level? 1 division. So we'll say 9 corps here have railed in some guards. This must have been a break glass emergency type of commitment of these forces. I did not see concentration of these guards, infantry corps, anywhere along the front throughout the past several weeks. So they must have been assembled somewhere to commit to the front where the Soviets probably feel the greatest danger, the gravest danger to their war effort. And Leningrad, I think the alarm bells sounded and Leningrad was being threatened, so the Soviets committed a sizable force, strong infantry corps to the front in front of Leningrad. And now we have to deal with that. Oh boy, I'll just might as well get this out of the way. Tallinn still held out. We attacked with 81,000 against their 41,000, and we didn't make a dent. They didn't blink. So I don't know how long it's going to take Tallinn. Maybe it'll be the last battle in the war to take Tallinn. It's tying up some decent amount of German forces just to take that stupid town. I'm going to be stubborn though. We will take it. Let's get to some administrative things first before we go into any other details, because I usually forget to mention those. Another Luftwaffe field division made its way into the line, as well as 2 more infantry divisions. Amazing. They are now attached to the 28th Corps to try and make something out of this and get combat superiority, some combat power superiority over the Russians in this sector where their lines are thin, because they are pulling out the stops to stop us in Leningrad, and they're probably going to commit significant forces down in Army Group South's area of operations, because things are pretty dire for them down there as well. Although you'll see that they did manage to establish a front once again, but it's getting thinner and thinner each time that happens. So let's go back up here. So those 2 infantry divisions, another Luftwaffe field division, and this turn 83, the second week of January, let's see, another infantry division and an SS Panzer Corps, the second. It's currently attached to Army Group South, but I'm not sure where I'm going to commit this Panzer Corps headquarters, which is golden. The more headquarters we can get, the better. So we have those railed in, and also the Das Reich. It's been upgraded to a Panzer Grenadier division. Awesome. And another Luftwaffe field division. Look at all this personnel the Luftwaffe had, and they couldn't put them in planes. I guess we didn't have enough planes to go around, because certainly they'd be better served than filling their ranks, at least as replacements into regular German Wehrmacht replacements, instead of fielding their own understrength subpar formations. Everybody wanted a piece of the pie, though. All right, so that covers reinforcements. Not insignificant. That's pretty good. That's a hefty. That's 3, 4, 5 decent-sized divisions added to our order of battle. That is great. And 2 headquarters, that Luftwaffe field headquarters, and now the 2nd SS Panzer Corps. Fantastic. All right, so we're seeing what's happening here. The plan is, well, overall, turn 83, second week of January, was messy. It was a lot of cleanup and reorganization. We pulled several of our Panzer Corps out of the line to get them on rails and potentially shift them to positions in preparation for 1943 when mud season ends. What is left of January and February, we'll try to continue to capitalize on opportunities, but sooner than later it's going to be March, and then mud's going to happen. So we want to get into position, not have to scramble once good weather arrives, and we can conduct the offensive as quickly and as efficiently in the best position possible in 1943. All right, so this is messy. We are continuing to get our forces into the front in Army Group North's area of operations after the encirclement there, and then the subsequent encirclement here, and then getting forces around Tallinn. And then we had the breakthrough here, which the Soviets reacted to with vigor. Now we have to get back into line and figure out where the Schwerpunkt is going to be along Army Group North's front in order to further threaten Leningrad. And before I forget as well, look at how the front has straightened. Not too shabby. I like the look of that. So drilling down back further into this sector. So the Soviets have considerable forces they committed to stop us at all cost taking Leningrad. I think we have I believe we have superior combat power, and we can definitely pick our spots to exploit weak points along the Soviets front, because they're not going to be all three high stacked guards, infantry corps along this front. So we will find a Schwerpunkt, exploit it, and get a breakout and further gain ground towards Leningrad. If we move down to, where's Veliky Luki? So no change here. This part of the front, Army Group North's front, is so quiet, just holding in place. This may become active in the next couple of weeks, and definitely in the spring of 1943, as operations to the north of them will have a trickle-down effect, and they will start to contribute to put pressure on the Soviets. Veliky Luki. So we continued to attack, and yes, we did rout two of their forces here, actually three so far. So gaining some further ground. The Soviets had some decent-sized forces here, but in a series of turns, series of weeks, we've routed several of them over the course of a couple of weeks. We definitely have superior combat power here, so we're going to continue to whittle away, chip away at these weakened Soviet formations to continue to gain combat superiority around Veliky Luki to cause more concerns for the Soviets. Moving down Smolensk, no more pressure here, and I think one of these routes came from this sector where we made some attacks against the Soviets. Yeah, all three. So now have a gap here the Soviets have to worry about. Granted, it's just infantry moving in blizzard conditions, but it's a threat, and it takes the pressure off Smolensk. And now they don't have those forces bearing down and being annoying. So we react to that over the past couple weeks, and now the situation is stabilized, and we've swung the tables against them. So from Smolensk down to Bryansk, really no change. We didn't make any attacks. I don't believe we did. No. Oh, we saw all those bombing runs. Bombed. There was a lot of bombing that happened. 102 bombers. But only three. I don't want to say only, but we took losses, but very insignificant losses as far as losses go on the Eastern Front. All right, so no change along Smolensk down to the Bryansk sector. Orel? Oh, it doesn't look like it right now, but because we did all our moves, we'll talk about it when we get down to Army Group South area of operations, but there was withdrawals, significant withdrawals on the Soviets' part. Here they're really not pressing forward any longer against the 17th Infantry Corps that is facing off against Orel in this sector. They're kind of remaining in place, as are we. We did attack here to put some pressure on the Soviets to the north, where they had some concentrations, but they are withdrawing. Subsequently, we did the same to the south. So to the north and south of this sector, we're forcing the Soviets to think about them being encircled, which will also relieve pressure from where the Soviets have built up a concentration in front of Kursk. They now will have to take steps, otherwise we will continue to fragment and disrupt their front to the north of Kursk. If we move down further south, well, Soviets, I didn't catch this during their turn. They had moved down once again 3 tank corps, where we had forces here and here, but I just didn't have our forces just weren't in place. We didn't have the movement factors to move into this hex and this hex and then this hex, and then hold off the Soviet counterattacks, because it would only be a single infantry division, rather weakened. You see only 11 fuel, low on supplies, ammo's pretty good. I didn't expect that I would hold an encirclement, a very tenuous encirclement, so we just pulled back. The next turn or two, I may leave a gap open, and when we're in better position, isolate and destroy these Soviets. Okay, here's where we started to pull out our forces. The 14th has come offline and is now resting and refitting. 14th Panzer Corps, as well as the 57th. Here, here, and here. So these two powerful Panzer Corps are now getting a well-deserved rest after almost continuous fighting since early December, really, when the snow started to fall. Or was it late November? Anyways, fighting has been furious under blizzard conditions across the front, and our panzer divisions have been leading the way, and now they are out of the line to get rested and refit and get positioned for 1943. Soviets built up a stronger front in this sector around Belgorod, just north of Kharkov. Kind of those residual forces have accumulated and probably added to over this past couple of months. So this is a rather strong part of the front for the Soviets. Still, Belgorod holds, but now we are starting to establish combat superiority around Belgorod, and we will more than likely displace them to the north of the south. And this is a mess. We cleaned up. Oh, let's talk about losses before I forget. 14,000 even during all those attacks we made. Even it was maybe not that many of attacks, actually. It was mostly situational attacks to clean up the pockets and to get in position to further strengthen the pocket in Army Group South's area of operation. However, almost 200,000 more Soviet casualties caused. We're at 9,300,000 in total. 36,000 Soviet tank losses. The bulk of that came through the destruction of the Soviets in this small pocket that we were managed to complete and compress this turn. And let's get back to losses. So this turn, 16 more Soviet formations were destroyed. And only 3 of them were support units. So 13 more order of battle on the map formations destroyed this turn. Okay, so this is a mess. Panzer Corps pulled out of line. Hungarians contributed to the attacks, so they're going to reorganize, and our infantry divisions will organize, and we'll get this front nice and clean in the next week or two. All right, moving further south, Kharkov, to the south of Kharkov, no change. Nice straight defensive line here. Finally, our infantry corps are catching up and reaching the front in this sector as we completed the encirclement around Dnipropetrovsk and continued to press east. This is, let me remind myself, so this is the part where the Soviets had a major withdrawal, break contact withdrawal, and we weren't even able to catch up to them in this part of the front. So our infantry finally getting into line, reorganizing in this as we press forward to Stalino. And our Panzer Corps, we've only left the 38th and the 37th Panzer Corps in action just to finalize this smaller encirclement down to the coast of the Sea of Azov, where the Soviets extracted more of their forces than I thought they would be able to do. So Soviets still forming a defensive line, although fragmented and withdrawing, they still have forces in front of us. However, look at the shortened line for us now, and we have a host of strong infantry corps, panzer corps, that once this is finished, this encirclement here and they get back into the front, we are going to have extreme combat power in certain places along the front that we will apply in 1943. On that note, all these forces here are just compressing this pocket. Really, the bulk of 11th Army is just trying to get back to the front, in the process compressing and destroying this forces in the pocket here. And here we took out of line the 24th Panzer Corps, and I believe it's the 31st. 24th and 31st, yes. So they are resting and refitting. Two of these at least are going north north to Army Group Center. We're not going to give Army Group North any further Panzer Corps or Panzer divisions. The terrain just doesn't allow for it, and we have more than enough Panzer divisions and motorized divisions there to capitalize where they can, where they are able to maneuver if possible. So these two Panzer Corps out of the line, as well as the resting and refitting 36. We don't have any rail capacity. I was thinking of moving the 36 this turn, but when I saw our reinforcements arriving, it was more important to get them into the front than move the 36 at this point. And continuing with the theme of getting our Panzer Corps out of the line, the 3rd and the 39th Panzer Corps are now out of the line, getting back onto the rails to rest and refit, leaving one of the infantry corps of 11th Army to destroy, along with the Romanians, the small portion of Soviets that remained behind to be destroyed in the next couple of turns as well. So small pockets to be reduced in the next turn or two, adding to the destruction of Soviet formations and removing them from the field. And that is about the summary of what happened during turn 83. All right, let's zoom out once more, get a strategic picture of the front. Thinking tentatively about objectives for what remains of the winter in 1943 before we hit mud season would be Stalino as an objective and Kursk as an objective, and shaping the battlefield along Army Group North's front in the hopes of continuing to pressure and take Leningrad. Those are the actions I'm anticipating for the next maybe probably 6 turns, 6 weeks of conditions where we can conduct the offensive before mud arrives. And those will be the focal points. That, and definitely getting reorganized, refit, reconstituted all along our front and arraying our forces as best as possible for 1943. Encirclements, I don't see any likely encirclements at this point. However, should the Soviets, I left a little area here to tempt the Soviets. They don't have mechanized forces, but they may indeed move west with these forces and once again duplicate what we did to them the past couple of weeks when they had the forces here and we cut them off against the Gulf of Finland. Should they do such, then that will be a little mini operation we'd think about to get an encirclement. But otherwise, don't see any more encirclement opportunities prior to mud arriving. And that's all right. I want to dedicate at least a handful of weeks to, again, refit, reorganize, and prepare ourselves and start planning for what we're going to do for major offensive operations in 1943. So let's hit next turn one more time for this video and see how the Soviets react. I imagine they'll settle into a fairly strong defense along Army Group North's frontage and continue to withdraw and get into their own good order and settle in their lines in Army Group South's area of operations in the Stalino region. And then their anticipated localized attacks here and there. They still have forces. Look at that. You shouldn't see that, but there's three. My lord. A whole bunch of divisions showing up around Tula. Well, we know the Soviets aren't completely out of the picture, but 1942 has been a serious blow to them. And I'm feeling good about 1943. The plan going into 1943 is continue to seek the destruction of the Soviet field army. We're not done with that. I wonder if we're going to get bombed as much this turn. That was just a screening line. Just to finish off whatever is in that pocket. I'm not sure exactly what got away. We'll find out once we start to compress those two areas. Getting bombed again. Well, if they're not committing their Air Force to support ground attacks or defenses, they might as well use all those planes to bomb us. Seven bombers. Not taking any losses from these bombing runs. 107. What did that infantry division do to warrant such attention? Are those all bombing runs that they're just skipping through? Yeah, screen goes a little spastic there. Well, there we go. Third week of January. 1943 went pretty quick. 2 more weeks of winter behind us. Yeah, Leningrad is so... It's going to be so hard to get to Leningrad, I'm thinking, now that Soviets committed... What is going on here? A thaw? A thaw? Oh, okay. It's only... What zone is that? It is Soviet South Zone. Uh-oh, that's gonna... That affects us definitely. Army Group South, yeah. Gives the Soviets some breathing room here. Well. And it's gonna cause, yeah, it delays this destruction. Oh boy. Well, the weather favored us, to be fair. Well, I don't know. It balanced out from the beginning of 1942. The weather in 1942 towards the end was favorable. We had some good clear weather for a number of weeks we weren't planning on. But this is a little, Mother Nature is giving the Soviets a bit of a breather. Ha! Darn it. Well, we'll compress and just move as close as we can. We're definitely not moving any motorized forces in the mud there. But everywhere else, it's blizzard. So operations will be able to continue. And what do the Soviets do up here all the way to the north? They didn't take the bait. But we definitely have combat power to cause some damage against the Soviets. These single divisions aligned against us. Oh, Tallinn. Tallinn, regardless, they probably would have held out again, but they're going to get another week of holding Tallinn. Wow. All right. So be it. All right, we're going to end the video here. A lot has happened, and we are coming in to 1943, the spring, not too far off, but we'll get what we can done in the next couple of weeks of blizzard weather, and pending these thaws that might happen in the zone. That was unexpected, totally unexpected, in the dead of January. But we'll do what we can, and we'll take opportunities where we can to rest and refit our very weary, exhausted formations across the front. I hope you enjoyed watching. This is First Fire, non-assault move out.